So, it's September. Let's be honest, the garden is looking a bit partied out. And if you're anything like me, you might be feeling the same way. The long summer of watering, weeding, and harvesting has been incredible, but man, it's been a ton of work. It's so tempting to just throw in the trowel, clean it all up, and call it a day until spring. But what if I told you the secret to your most amazing, low-effort spring garden isn't about all the hard work you'll do in March? It's about the lazy work you do right now. What if you could spend just a few hours this month doing 3 simple things that will build world-class soil, kill off next year's weeds before they even start, and set you up for a garden that basically runs itself? Stick around, because today I'm sharing my top 3 favorite low-effort hacks for the September gardener. This isn't about being lazy, it's about being brilliant. It's about copying Mother Nature and letting your garden's own ecosystem do all the heavy lifting for you. By the end of this, you'll have a foolproof plan for an incredible spring with the absolute minimum amount of work. Alright, my first lazy gardener hack is for anyone staring at a patch of sad-looking lawn and dreaming of turning it into a garden bed next year. It's also perfect for those of us with existing beds that have been totally drained by hungry summer plants. We all know the problem: you want a garden space, but the thought of digging up sod, tilling, and pulling endless weeds is just exhausting. It's literal back-breaking work. The solution? It's a game-changer from the no-dig gardening world called sheet mulching, or as I like to call it, lasagna gardening. The name says it all. We're going to build layers right on top of the ground. This method smothers every weed and blade of grass underneath while creating a rich, fluffy, fertile bed for you to plant in next spring. It is, without a doubt, the easiest way to build a brand new garden bed from scratch. Here's the lazy way to do it. First, gather your ingredients. You need 2 things for our soil lasagna: browns and greens. Your browns are carbon-rich materials. Think cardboard, newspaper, dry leaves, straw, or wood chips. Your greens are nitrogen-rich materials like fresh grass clippings, kitchen scraps, no meat or dairy please, or even the weeds you just pulled from somewhere else. The first, most crucial layer is your weed barrier. This is where plain old cardboard is your best friend. Lay down a solid layer of cardboard or a ½ inch of newspaper right on the grass. The key is to overlap the edges by at least 6 inches. You want to make it impossible for any stubborn weed to find a crack of sunlight. This layer is the magic trick. It smothers everything below without you ever lifting a shovel. And don't worry, the earthworms will think you've laid out a feast for them. They'll come up to munch on the cardboard, aerating your new bed in the process. Now give this layer a really good soak with a hose to help it stay put and kickstart the decomposition. Next, it's time to build your lasagna. On top of that wet cardboard, start layering your browns and greens. A good rule of thumb is to put down a thick layer of browns, then a thinner layer of greens. Got a giant pile of fall leaves? Perfect. Put down a 3 or 4 inch layer of leaves, then maybe a 1 inch layer of fresh grass clippings. Water each layer as you build. Keep alternating. Shredded paper, kitchen scraps, straw, compost if you've got it. It all goes in. You're basically building a giant compost pile right where you want to plant. Keep layering until your new bed is about 12 to 18 inches high. I know, it'll look ridiculously tall at first, but it will settle down and decompose over the fall and winter. Always finish with a nice, thick brown layer, like a few inches of straw or, even better, finished compost. This makes it look tidy and stops new weed seeds from blowing in. And you're done. You just made a brand new, super fertile garden bed without any digging. You've recycled waste, you've kickstarted a thriving soil ecosystem, and you've set yourself up for effortless planting in the spring. Come next year, you can plant right into that beautiful, dark, crumbly soil. My second lazy hack is so simple, you'll wonder why you've ever done it another way. It completely flips the script on garden cleanup. Traditionally, when a plant is done, like a tomato, bean, or squash vine, what do? We grab it, we yank it out of the ground, roots and all. We spend hours pulling, shaking dirt off, and hauling everything to the compost pile. It's a chore. Here's the lazy and brilliant alternative. Just cut the plant at the soil surface and leave the roots in the ground. That's it. That's the whole hack. It might feel wrong, I get it. You might think you're leaving a mess or that the old roots will get in the way, but what you're actually doing is a massive favor for your soil. In a forest, nobody comes along to rip dead plants out of the ground. Their roots decompose right where they are, and that process is essential for building healthy, living soil. When you leave those old roots in the ground, a few amazing things happen over the winter. First, they become free food for your soil life. Earthworms, bacteria, and fungi will slowly break them down, turning them into precious organic matter and unlocking nutrients for your future plants. You're composting in place, deep in the soil where it does the most good. Second, as those roots rot away, they leave behind a perfect network of tiny tunnels. These channels are fantastic for aerating the soil, allowing air and water to get in deep. You're creating a beautifully aerated and well-draining soil structure without ever touching a tiller or a broad fork. And finally, if you do this with plants like beans and peas, it's even more of a superpower. Legumes are nitrogen fixers. They form little nodules on their roots that are packed with nitrogen. When you pull the plant out, you're throwing away free fertilizer. By leaving the roots, you release all that stored nitrogen back into the soil, ready for whatever hungry plants you put there next spring. So this September, put the shovel away. Grab a pair of pruners, walk through your garden, and just snip the dead plants at the soil line. You can even drop the tops right there on the surface as mulch, a technique called chop and drop, or compost them if you want things to look tidier. You'll save hours of work, improve your soil, and feed the tiny ecosystem that will power next year's garden. Before we get to my final and possibly laziest hack of all, if you're finding these tips for working smarter, not harder, helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. My goal here is to help you create a garden that brings you joy, not stress, and subscribing is the best way to make sure you don't miss out. Okay, on to the final hack. My last lazy gardener hack for September is all about protecting your number one asset, your soil. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is to leave your garden beds naked and exposed all winter. Bare soil is vulnerable. It gets hammered by rain, blown away by wind, compacted by snow, and becomes the perfect landing pad for every weed seed in a 5-mile radius. The solution is unbelievably easy. Plant a cover crop. A cover crop is basically a living blanket, or, green manure, that you grow during the off-season to protect and seriously enrich your soil. It's honestly one of the easiest things you'll ever grow, and the list of benefits is huge for almost zero effort. Think about it. A thick carpet of green protects your soil from weeds blowing in. The roots of the cover crop gently break up compacted soil for you. Certain cover crops like clover or vetch are legumes that pull nitrogen from the air and store it in the soil. That's free fertilizer. Then when you cut the crop down in spring, all that green matter becomes a fresh infusion of organic material, boosting your soil's fertility. Planting a cover crop is ridiculously simple. You don't need to till or do any fancy prep. Just take a rake and gently scuff up the surface of your empty beds. Then, scatter the seeds over the soil like you're feeding chickens. No need to be perfect. A generous, even toss is all it takes. Lightly rake the area one more time just to make sure the seeds are touching the soil, which also helps hide them from hungry birds. You can top it with a very light layer of straw to hold in moisture, but honestly, it's not essential. The warm soil and cool air of September are perfect for germination, and you usually won't even need to water if you get the occasional rain. In a few weeks, you'll have a lush green carpet covering your beds, protecting them all winter. So what should you plant? There are tons of great options. For a fantastic beginner combo, try a mix of winter rye and hairy vetch. The rye is a beast at breaking up tough soil, and the vetch is a nitrogen-fixing machine. Other easy choices are crimson clover, which also has beautiful flowers that pollinators go crazy for, or a simple mix of oats and peas. You can find these seeds online or at garden centers, often pre-mixed as a fall cover crop blend. Come spring, you have two lazy options. Either cut the crop down before it makes seeds and just leave it on the surface as a mulch to plant into, or, with some cover crops that are killed by the winter cold, you do nothing at all. You just plant right into the dead residue. It's a win-win-win. So that's the playbook: 3 simple strategies to lean into a little bit of laziness this fall for a ridiculously productive spring. First, we're skipping the digging and building instant soil with lasagna gardening. Second, we're ditching the grunt work of pulling out old plants and are just cutting them at the base, letting the roots feed the soil. And third, we're tucking our garden beds in for the winter under a living blanket of cover crops that will smother weeds and pump in nutrients. By spending just a few hours on these projects now, you are doing more for your garden's future than weeks of frantic work in the spring ever could. You're partnering with nature, building a garden that can sustain itself, and setting yourself up for a season of abundance. I hope this gets you excited to see this time of year not as the end, but as a golden opportunity. What are your favorite lazy fall gardening hacks? Drop them in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love learning from all of you. Thanks for hanging out with me, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And here's to a restful fall and an effortless spring. Happy gardening!